Yeah, are we live? Yes, we are. Galimera, Galimera, Galimera. Good morning, good morning, good morning. And how are we all today? Well, as you can see, today is an absolutely fantastic day. First of all, just to let you know, our little pussycat Sweetie, last night at some point in the early hours of the morning, she gave birth to 3 little kittens. She's very tired. She's very exhausted. Jane's been fussing around her like a midwife, to be honest, bless her. And she is just basically exhausted, the little girl. All 3 of them look like they're all alive, and basically, hopefully, everything's going to go all right for her. Sweetie herself wasn't the most healthiest of cats. And basically, for her to have 3 little kittens, we couldn't get her neutered simply because she's never been well enough to be neutered, but she's been well enough to get herself pregnant, that's for sure. But anyway, now that we can obviously, once she recovers from everything, and hopefully she's going to be okay. She's not out of the woods yet, but obviously this first 24 hours is going to be rather important. But anyway, as you can see, it's a beautiful, clear blue sky today. Just a few wisps of cloud, nothing extreme. A little bit of a breeze, but it's a little bit chilly, but not too cold. Not like yesterday where it was blowing a gale for most of the day. It's still windy. You can still see the orange tree down there moving in the wind. If I'll just zoom in on it, you can probably just see the oranges swaying there in the wind. But other than that, it's not too bad. I can already see people sending me their weather reports from where they are in the UK. Steve is saying, well, it's raining where I am in Stoke-on-Trent. Bless you. You've had snow as well there, haven't you, over the week as well? But here, yeah, you can probably just hear the wind picking up. But if you stand in the warm, in the sun, it's absolutely glorious. And again, can I just say, the grass out here is looking absolutely fantastic. A nice place to sit maybe in the summer and relax, have a drink, enjoy the sun. But anyway, we'll see what transpires. But anyway, that's the direction towards towards Macardo, Lagana and Kalamaki, and that's looking lovely that direction. And towards Sillavi over there, over the top of the hill and beyond, that's its direction towards Sillavi. And again, clear blue skies. So again, it looks like it's going to be a good day. And today is our weekly pilgrimage to Lidl to do our shopping. And again, looks like it's a nice day to be doing that. Right, let's have a look at the news for today. I've got to be honest, the news today is not the greatest news at the moment. So I'm just going to switch my camera around. Trying to switch my camera around. Come on, camera, switch around. Here we go. Is it going to switch around? Come on. Yes, it's switched around now. I have to stop the broadcast and restart it, and that's why there's always that little delay, because all the little icons disappear once you start broadcasting. Anyway, let's crack on with the news. Let's give you the information from the last 24 hours then here in Greece. Right, today, as you're probably aware, it's the 9th of April. It's a Friday, getting ready for the weekend. And for us here in Greece, it's day 155 of our lockdown. Right, COVID stats for the last 24 hours are as follows. We've had 3,228 new infections recorded. That's down from 3,445 on the previous day that I reported to you. Grand total now so far, 288,230 cases since the pandemic started. Right, identifications into the country of new cases, 10 new cases identified at ports of entry. That was up slightly from 9 on the previous report to you. According to the national stats then yesterday, there were no new cases in Lefkada. There were 7 new cases in Kefalonia. There were 8 new cases on Corfu, and Zakynthos on the national statistics had reported 7 cases. However, reporting locally, there were 11 cases reported for Thursday. These were identified after rapid testing. Yesterday, it was also made known that there had been 2 cases in the police as well, with the result of which rapid tests were performed on all police officers. The tests were negative, and the 2 guys that were tested positive, they are now to remain at home, obviously doing the 14 days home quarantine, and obviously to be tested after they've done that quarantine. At the moment, no further updates on the local hospital. At the moment, the last reports we had was 12 people were hospitalised with coronavirus in the hospital here, and there was 1 patient who was in the ICU, and again, no further updates have come from there then. So at the moment, as it stands, according to my statistics, and these are the figures for reported cases on the island, not the national statistics. I always just look at the reported cases on the island. We've had 68 cases for the month of April here on Zakynthos, and so far this year we've had 352 cases here on the island since the beginning of the year. Now, moving on to deaths at the moment. Deaths are down slightly. We've had a report of 73 new deaths across the country. That was down from 75 on the previous report. That means the total number of people who passed away through to the virus has been 8,680. Now, the average age of those people has dropped slightly to the age of 79. And 96.4% had underlying health conditions or were over the age of 70. And again, the average daily death rate for Greece back in 2019 was probably around about 329 cases a day. Anyway, at the moment, when it comes to critical cases, there is at the moment, that has gone up actually quite a little bit actually over the last 24 hours. I did report to you that there was 749 critical cases across the country in ICUs. At the moment, that number has risen to 776. It seems mainly male people have been affected by that. We've got 503 male and 273 female. Now, the average age of critical patients, again, that number's been revised at the moment to about 67 years of age. And also revised is the amount of people having underlying health conditions. That's been revised to a slightly lower number of 83.5% with underlying health issues or over the age of 70. Anyway, so that has shown that there is a change there. Anyway, when it comes to today's news, I've got to be honest, today's news is a really mixed bag at the moment. But anyway, top story at the moment, hot off the press story this morning for Greece was this. The UK government has announced plans for the reopening of safe international travel from within England, but it did not confirm May the 17th would be the date when travel abroad could resume. Now, they said whatever the date, traffic light system would be in place with travel from countries designated. Now, the designation, obviously green, amber and red, and this is what the Greek press is saying at the moment about that. They're saying green is not requiring any quarantine. Those on amber list would require a 10-day quarantine at home. And lastly, those travellers returning from countries on the red list would have to enter a mandatory 10-day quarantine in a designated secure hotel, with travellers paying the hotel costs, which at the moment are around about £1,750. Now, the plan, they said, also includes that all travellers, even those returning from green countries on the list, would require to take a COVID-19 test before they leave and on their return, and being a PCR test, which at the moment is costing around about £120 per test. Now, the proposal, this is the Greek press talking now, has already been met with dismay and criticism from the travel industry, in that it would make the cost of holidays abroad out of reach of the majority of families. The government, the British government, has stated that it will work with the travel industry to try and reduce the cost of testing. Now, I've got to bring this up. Britain at one point was giving away free COVID tests the same way that Greece is at the moment still in the process of giving away free COVID tests. Why is it we can give them away en masse? Yet when it comes to people wanting to go on holiday, where you know that the tests are going to be used rather than sitting in someone's cupboard or just being given to somebody for the sake of it, because I had reports from certain people in the NHS who said we've just been given these hundreds and hundreds of tests and we're just basically tripping over them in the corridor. They're not, and they're just giving them away to anybody. So again, this is where the British government, now you've paid for the damn things, give them away, give them to the airports for them to test people leaving, so you could have a PCR test before you get on your flight. This is something that needs to be looked at, needs to be addressed. Why should the large chain pharmacies, should I say, basically have to do the testing and then obviously charging the public an extortionate amount of money, even if they were testing for, say, an affordable amount of maybe, say, £15 to £20 a test, not £120 a test. How much do the tests cost? I don't know if anybody's actually looked into the cost of each individual unit and what the costs are. I'll guarantee that the costs would be probably just over £1, £2, maybe £3 a unit to be tested. So again, this is something I think the Greek government and also the British government needs to look at very, very closely. Anyway, the government has stated that it will work with the travel agency to try and reduce the cost of testing. The government, the British government, this is, confirmed that details of which countries will be designated green, amber and red will be confirmed in early May. And as will the final decision on the date for the reopening of international travel. So there you go. Right, we'll wait and see on that one. Anyway, yesterday then, a bit of good news for Greece, and I'm really pleased to actually be able to say this one. The Greek government spokesman, during a regular press briefing on Thursday, on last night, said that the vaccinations against the COVID-19 in Greece, including both the first and second doses, exceeded the 2 million mark on Wednesday. And the Greek government also estimated that the health authority will conduct an additional 1.5 million vaccinations in April. Now, when you consider that the population of Greece is around about 11 million people, that's going to be just over 3.5 million people that have been vaccinated. So hopefully that will stand us in good stead when the holiday season actually does start to kick off, whenever it kicks off. The next story is basically the Prime Minister Mitsotakis. This is some comments about TV interviews that he's done over the last couple of days. Anyway, on Wednesday, the Greek Prime Minister Mitsotakis appealed to older Greek citizens to get vaccinated against the coronavirus as the government presses forward with its vaccination program. Anyway, he said in an interview on Star TV, I call on the aged, not very politically correct, I plead with them, he says, to get vaccinated the soonest possible. Vaccines are a protection. There are vaccines and appointments available. It is a fundamental act of self-protection. Yep, all well and good if you've got the vaccine on the islands. At the moment, it might be okay up in the areas of Athens, but we're still not getting the vaccine as quickly as what most people would like here on the islands as well. Maybe a lot of resources are pushed towards that location rather than to our location. But anyway, he was also asked if people would be able to move to their villages for the Easter. He said he was not yet able to answer. That's a nice, honest answer. It would be irresponsible of me, he said, to substitute the role of the experts. The experts will tell us this. We still have 2 weeks to see the course of the pandemic. We all wish we could go to our villages, to our places of origin for Easter, he said, while responding in the negative to the possibility of allowing these movements by a political decision. So again, another man like Boris, I'm being led by the experts, using them as a cover to not make a decision, basically. Anyway, he also said the answer, basically, the Greek media is saying is, the answer is no. to this question. Anyway, he said, we have usually listened to the experts, and whenever we have deviated, they are on the issues which I consider to be of minor importance. And I think that the reason, after all, despite the fact that the experts do not always agree, you saw today there were very serious scientists who voted in the minority. There are different views within the experts, and sometimes I will tell you honestly, as I feel it, and I believe as citizens feel it, sometimes it creates a sense of pluralism. Unfortunately, there is no absolute truth when it comes to dealing with such a virus, because there is no manual that tells us what to do at every stage of the crisis. Mitsotakis also said that despite the difficulties and the great pressure on the health system, if one sees the course of the country from the beginning of the pandemic, we have achieved much better than most European countries because we listen to the experts. I've got to be honest, at the beginning, Greece did fantastic. In fact, Greece has done fantastically well throughout the whole of this in comparison to a lot of other European countries. However, we still feel that the thoughts towards the economy, thoughts towards the summer, clarification needs to start to become clearer. And at the moment, our fate is also in the hands of other nations, and we're obviously proving, Greece has proved, we are a safe place to come, and therefore we need other nations to realise that we also need the trade, we need the business, and we don't want to see anything that's going to jeopardise people's safety, and also the fact that we don't want to jeopardise another season in the same way we had a season last year. And the interesting thing was, and this was another point raised very cannily by the lovely Lady Jane, was the fact that last year we had nothing. We had no virus. We had no vaccine or anything else like that. We had testing and that was it. And I thought we did very well, actually, last year. And now we've all had this, well, most people have had the vaccination. There's talk now about vaccinating local workers here at the moment, but I'll go into that at a later stage once we know more clearer details on that. We are a safe place to come. And in comparison to other European countries, Greece has done well. But anyway, he also went on to say that we have achieved much better than most European countries because we listen to the experts. For the focus, he said, the weather is an ally as well as Operation Freedom for the vaccines. And that's the name, the code name that's been given by the Greek government to its operation to get people vaccinated. But again, that other thing, that weather is an ally, because as the weather gets warmer, the virus dies in the warmer weather. So we are led to believe. So therefore, like last year, where everybody was terrified, oh, the tourist is going to bring this infection, they're going to bring the plague with them. In reflection, it didn't really happen. Right. He also went on to be asked questions about the reopening of restaurants, okay, which is again of big interest here in Zakynthos and of course across the rest of Greece. He said the focus on the problem is this is also another thing that I picked up on this yesterday. On the question of reopening restaurants, he said, but it's the focus on the problem. When you have to eat or drink your coffee, you should take off your mask. Anyway, so it carries some danger. Certainly the restaurant, when it opens, will open in the first phase outdoors. I estimate, if you want my personal assessment, I will risk a prediction this will not happen before Easter. It will happen after Easter. Right, that's the first point. It looks like restaurants and bars and that will open after Easter, which we kind of expected. But the other thing is, this is the hypocrisy of it. This was the man who's just had his parade up in Athens with everybody locked down. Nobody was allowed to stand in the street and watch it. He was then having dinner with all these heads of state all around a table. I didn't see much social distancing sat around a table, and I certainly didn't see people wearing masks around the table while they were eating at their formal dinner. Now, I've not heard any reports that Prince Charles has gone down with COVID-19. I've not had any reports that Mitsotakis has gone down with COVID-19. I've had no reports that the Russian the Russian Prime Minister went down with any COVID-19, or the French minister, who was the French defence minister, went down with any COVID-19. And when you looked at the pictures of that dinner that they had, and then when you look back just a month or so before, when Mitsotakis was doing his grandiose visit to the islands, where he was having dinner with 60 people in a villa. One of the MPs was hosting him for a dinner there. And when you looked at the photographs and the pictures, plus the entourage that were all there, all quite happy, drinking, eating, having a nice bit of souvlaki and a nice little bit of moussaka as well, all together. I didn't hear of any reports of anybody else coming down with any infection from the virus. So, and it's also been proved by medical experts, you're not likely to catch it in a bar or a pub, all right, or a restaurant. You're going into a supermarket where there's hundreds of people in there. We've not heard of them shutting the supermarkets and banning people having meals, not having meals, but going in there to do their shopping. So I think the restaurants and bars, could open, even if they run the restrictions that they had before. But again, in the other token, some bars and restaurants, especially in the UK, figures saying that the risk to reopen as well is financial sometimes, where it's cheaper to stay closed now than it is to reopen, because they probably work their finances out that we can stay closed for longer till we can open with no restrictions on us. But when we do open, we're going to be opening technically at a loss unless we stick our prices right up. Which again, that won't encourage people to come out. However, on the other token, how many people still have money to be able to go out and actually eat, all right, and actually go out and go into a restaurant or bar or somewhere like that at the moment as well. So again, there's a enumeration of factors, but the thing is, at the moment that's been made clear is that we are not going to be open, the bars or the restaurants, until after Easter. And don't forget, our Easter is on the 2nd of May, and normally the season would have started when we would have had Easter, and this time, if you're lucky to go back to a job, you could literally say thank you to the Easter, and now a week later we're back to work, and we've had no time to, shall we say, enjoy those kind of things before we start to work as well. Anyway, I can see lots of comments coming in at the moment, and I'll get to those comments as well. Now, another very, very disturbing case, and listen to this one. This one blew my mind yesterday. The police were called into an Athens hospital on Thursday to investigate the mysterious death of a COVID-19 patient in an intensive care unit. Now, according to the preliminary reports, a 76-year-old man was found dead in his bed by the morning shift of the Red Cross hospital up in Athens. What prompted the hospital's management to call in the police was the fact that he had somehow, his ventilator had become disconnected. That was obviously helping him to breathe. So he was an incubated patient. Anyway, an investigation was then put underway to determine the cause of death, whether it was human error or whether it was negligence or it was foul play. Anyway, the police later then, the same day, arrested a 58-year-old patient at the hospital, where he has been now charged with murder. It seems, according to reports and sources, that this 58-year-old had become annoyed by the noise of the ventilator, keeping him awake at night, which again was keeping this other gentleman alive. Anyway, this 58-year-old man who's also in the COVID clinic in that hospital. He's been assigned a police guard who's watching him because he's obviously still in the hospital undergoing treatment as well for COVID-19. So again, a very, very extreme case there of somebody switching the machine off because of the annoyance of the noise. Yeah, it beggars belief. But anyway, we'll see what the outcome of that court case is as well. Anyway, also interestingly as well, when we're talking about the British government saying, right, listen, we're not going to give any firm date of the 17th of May as when we're going to start holidays abroad for UK tourists. The Norwegian cruise lines and other operators have just recently announced their first cruises to Greece are going to begin on at the beginning of July 2021 this year. Now, all the companies say they expect it to be a phased-in approach to restarting cruises while taking into account public health environment, the global travel restrictions and port availability, among other considerations. Now, Norwegian Cruise Line also stated as part of the announcement that all its voyages will operate within what's called a robust multi-layer sail-safe health and safety program. And this will include mandatory vaccinations of all guests and crew and universal COVID-19 testing as well. Now, this mandatory vaccination of all guests, does that mean they're going to vaccinate you when you go on board your cruise, or are you having to prove that you have been vaccinated? Something, again, that will probably come out in the detail as we get closer to the time. Anyway, the line say they will offer 7-day trips around the Greek islands, leaving from Athens starting in late July and sailing from Jamaica and the Dominican Republic on 2 other ships, and that will start in August. Anyway, the CEO, Harry Stomer, said Greece is the cruise line's top European destination, and he expects the Greek government to allow Americans to travel to the country as soon as May or June. Anyway, according to Tourism Minister Haris Therakis, he said Greece marks May the 14th as its official opening of the 2021 tourism season, and is obviously pinning its hopes on that date being the date when things will start. So again, it's still really up in the air as to what is going to be going on with the beginning of our season. And finally, a little bit of good news, all right. I've talked about this before. The West Norwood Cemetery, when I was a lad and I grew up, West Norwood was a little small part of an area near to where I lived in Crystal Palace area, and they have a very famous cemetery there. Now, that cemetery has a Greek Orthodox section which dates back to the 19th century, the Victorian era, where all the Greek Orthodox people were buried from around London. And anyway, there's been more announcements about the restoration of the West Norwood Cemetery in its Greek Orthodox section. It seems that the work is going to start on the mortuary chapel of the Raleigh family, which was dedicated to St. Stephen and is modelled after a Doric temple. It actually looks like a little mini Acropolis, basically, or necropolis as they call it. And it's the renovation work is going to be starting on that soon. It is the most listed funerary area in London, West Norwood Cemetery, even more so than Highgate, believe it or not. And it's got a few very famous people buried there as well. One of them is Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the author of Sherlock Holmes, and also another lady whose name escapes me. She was a pre-Raphaelite muse. If you see any pre-Raphaelite paintings, there's a certain lady in there, and she is buried in that cemetery as well. And I'm so pleased because I have friends who live in the area, Anthony Kelly and also his wife as well, Leslie. And if we do get to England at some point, and again, we want to go and spend some time in London. I would like to go and have a look at the work that's been done in West Norwood Cemetery and see what they've actually done with it. So again, a little bit of good news. And if you're in England at all and you get a chance to move around, I know Gary and Linda from Essex, they know West Norwood Cemetery quite well. Again, I actually did say to them, we'll meet up in West Norwood Cemetery at some point, but I don't want to be in it. I just want to visit it. All right, there you go. In fact, they don't even take any more burials in the cemetery now because it's completely full, and it's more of a park, shall we say, and more of a location of historical interest. So there you go. West Norwood Cemetery. If you get a chance to go visit, it's well worth a look. Right, let's have a look, because I notice there's a lot of people at the moment in the chat room, obviously leaving little messages and stuff. Chris Jones is watching. Nice to see you, Chris. Paddy Brolly, nice to see you looking in as well. Alf Ling is watching, all Raffridge buddies. Maria Hellberg over there in Sweden is tuning in. Amanda Gregory says, good morning, Ginge. That wind has cleared most of the clouds, so expect sunshine all day today. Highs of 16, and have a good day. Yeah, I'm hoping so. I'm actually going to do me burning today as well. Julie Meldrum is also watching as well. Mary McMillan, lovely to have you tuning in, my darling. Nice to see you tuning in. Shane Bowen as well up on Exmoor. Amanda Gregory obviously watching. Steve Hinkling is tuning in. He says, Gallimera from a beautiful sunny Exmoor. No, that's Sean Bowen saying that. Tim Crystal says, good morning, buddy. Nice to see you. Steve Hinkling says, Gallimera, that's it. Rub it in. It's raining here. And he's having a wet weekend, is by the looks of it. Andrew the Fridge Watkins, nice to see you looking in. Alf Ling looking in as well. Mike Glattonley is also tuning in. Nice to see you looking in, buddy. He's actually here on the island. Angela Love is also tuning in as well. Margaret Miller. Annalise Willis is also tuning in. Janet Ferrant is also tuning in as well. Julie Meldrum says, good morning. Looks like a beautiful day ahead. Having a fantastic weekend. A walk on the beach, maybe. Yeah, maybe we will do a walk on the beach, but we'll probably be doing that on Sunday because today we're going to be doing a walk in Lidl, getting the supplies in. Anyway, Mike says, good morning, mate. Cheers for that. Wendy Norcliffe is watching. Delia Gussetti is watching as well. Mark Stewart is watching. Lindsay Lamb is watching. Steve Headley says, morning, big man. Thank you for that, Steve. Steve Headley says, mate, forgot it will cost too much for the average family. They are making it so hard. They are making it so hard. And to be honest, the solution is so easy. It really is. Make the test free, or make the cost of the test a smaller number. This shouldn't be about profit at the end of the day. This should be about covering your cost, all right? And £120 for a vaccination in Boots, should I say, when you've been giving away these tests, and I mean giving them away, and I know people, kids of 19 years of age being given a box of 20 tests. What am I supposed to do with this, was the answer. And what has it done? It sat on the sideboard in the house. You know, absolute craziness, absolute madness. So again, let's make it affordable for people to go on holiday, because what you never know is that you might even have to take a test to even go on a holiday within the UK. That's something that hasn't been mentioned yet. Imagine you're going to go and stay in a little B&B in Blackpool, or you're going to go and stay in a little hotel somewhere in some little seaside town there. Are they going to insist that you have to have a COVID test before you're allowed to stay in there? Because that would probably be the next level it would go to. Anyway, Sam Smith is watching as well. John Mims is watching as well. Maria Hadelberg says, good morning. Good morning, Gallimera. Looks lovely over there. Have a great weekend. Thank you, Maria. We will try. Sue Parkinson is watching. Steve Headley says, they are not wanting you to test twice a week. Check out on Alex Belfield. I will check Alex out. I haven't had a look at Alex this morning. But please, ladies and gentlemen, please check out an online broadcaster called Alex Belfield. He has a channel that is bigger than Talk Radio or LBC put together. At the moment, he's been harassed by Nottinghamshire police, who basically are under the instructions of the BBC to shut him down because he's been exposing the corruption going in on the BBC. He's also the guy who's been telling you how to avoid paying your licence TV payment as well, quite legally, and basically giving advice on that, and also advice on how to deal with the TV licensing people when they come raiding your house. But he's been raided now 3 times. He's been arrested. He's been imprisoned. Only 2 areas of mainstream media have been covering his case at the moment. One of them, I think, was the Daily Telegraph. One was the Daily Express, definitely. And I think the Daily Telegraph has been covering his case. He's not some out-and-out nutter. His channel is called The Voice of Reason. Please check him out. I think what that man is doing is so brave. Some of the stories that he puts out really do make you think and question what's going on with the government, and also what's going on within the BBC. This man worked for the BBC for 15 years. He's also worked for mostly all of the major newspapers as a reporter and as a journalist. He is a man who champions basically the ordinary man in the street. He has a phone-in on a Wednesday and also on a Sunday night. Well worth the listen. And he is bigger than LBC and bigger than Talk Radio in the UK. He has more listeners on there. And at the moment, he is being absolutely savaged and hounded by the BBC's agenda. The last big raid he had on his house was because the BBC said that they'd had a bomb threat placed against them, and they said it was him that did it. And of course, he's been raided. He's had his equipment taken away. He was arrested. He was put into a cell. He was also arrested by different police from a different location within Nottinghamshire. All of those policemen arrived with no identifying numbers on their uniform as to who was doing the raid. When he was raided last time, he stood at the window and he said, "I'll come. Are you going to arrest me?" The police said, "Yes, we're going to arrest you." He says, "Well, let me phone my lawyer and I will come down and let you in." Another policeman popped around the corner and said, "If you don't open this door now, we're putting it in." And they broke his door down when there was no need to break his door down. They had no warrant for his arrest, and they also seized all his broadcast equipment. And this is the 3rd lot of broadcast equipment he's had seized. And basically, they wouldn't give it back to him in a reasonable time frame. He had then to go out and buy more. And what's more, Nottinghamshire police never even replied to any of the communications that he has sent them. They have gone very quiet. They know they've messed up on some of the investigation, and especially on bail terms that he's supposed to add, because basically the police have lied all the way along. But anyway, check him out, Alex Belfield. Very interesting guy. He does nice little short 5-minute little podcast through the day, not like my long-winded, drawn-out things. And he does report stuff that the mainstream media is not reporting, and he will tell you the reasons why. He doesn't like Piers Morgan as well very much, but he does respect him as well. And sometimes he has championed Piers Morgan, especially over the Meghan and Harry saga, where he's had to say, "I've got to give the guy the benefit of the doubt. What he said was completely right, not out of order," and he's well worth a look. So Alex Belfield, the voice of reason. Right, listen, I'm going to have to go now. Thank you for all your comments and online. I don't want to make this drag on and drag on. Just to remind you, don't forget today, I do my live broadcast from here, Studio One, starting at 3 o'clock your time in the UK. Broadcasting till 5 o'clock in the UK time, and then don't forget from 5 o'clock through till 7 o'clock it's my dance anthem show on beatsradio.co.uk. So please come and join me, and let's come and join me and have some fun, all right, and join in the shows. Just remind you that the Beats Radio show is recorded, but I will be in the chat room. Right, you have a fantastic weekend, and I will see you later on today for Requesting Inspiration. And thank you for all the support for that show. I've had some absolutely fantastic reviews of that from certain people, and both shows at the moment are doing very well in the charts. And then don't forget Sunday, the Northern Soul show. That's actually just charted last week in the Mixcloud chart. I can't remember the numbers, but I was pleased that it had done that. Anyway, listen, I better go. I'm waffling on now. You take care. And again, I'll keep my ear to the ground and let you know what's going on. Ta-ra. Oh, and I'll let you know how the kittens are getting on as well. All right. Ta-ra.